Some days you ride to get somewhere. Other days you ride just to feel the wind. This was one of those days. It was meant to be a distraction, a quick escape. I just wrapped up another round of radiation for eye cancer, and all I wanted was a little peace, a moment of normal. The hum of my Ducati is like a reset button, its vibration shaking the stress from your bones until all that's left is the open road. I never imagined that this ride, this moment of quiet, would be destroyed by an act of violence so random and extreme, it still feels unreal. This wasn't some accident. This was a hunt. And it all happened right in front of a bunch of kids who were just trying to get home. A Jeep driver was trying to run me off the road, and a whole troop of Boy Scouts was right there to see it. It all started with a simple honk. The afternoon of Saturday, December 13th, 2025, began like any other ride. I was on my 2008 Ducati, just cruising down Petrovitsky Road in Renton, Washington. The air was crisp, and the ride was doing its job, clearing my head. I was alive, and for a second. That's all that mattered. But in a few heartbeats, that freedom was gone, replaced by pure terror. 1 minute, I'm enjoying the ride. The next, a Jeep pickup is hitting me with what police would later call a pit maneuver. He used his truck to trip my bike like a bully, kicking someone's legs out from under them, but on a highway with 2 tons of steel. He was actually hunting me. It happened so fast, it's still hard to wrap my head around the sequence of events. I was riding near the intersection around 108 Avenue Southeast when a Jeep honked at me. Was it a warning? An angry, "Get out of my way"? I honestly don't know. But in that split second, I reacted. Witnesses told the police I gave the driver the middle finger before riding off. My memory of that part is foggy, but that's what they saw. A gesture, a fleeting moment of frustration. In a normal world, that's where it ends. Maybe he thinks I'm a jerk. I think he's a jerk, and we both go about our lives. But this wasn't a normal world, and he wasn't a normal driver. To him, that gesture was like pulling the pin on a grenade. It was enough to justify everything that came next. Instead of just moving on, he decided to take things to a level no sane person would. He didn't just get mad, he got vengeful. That honk and that gesture triggered a violent chase. Right after that, the entire ride changed. The Jeep wasn't just another car on the road, it had become a predator. The driver started chasing me, and I mean aggressively. This wasn't just tailgating, it was like he was a shark that had tasted blood. He started swerving at me, his huge truck closing the distance with terrifying speed. Every instinct in my body screamed that this was seriously wrong, seriously dangerous. You can feel the difference between an impatient driver and one who wants to hurt you. This was the second one. I tried to get away, to create some space, but he was relentless. It was obvious he wasn't going to let me go. My casual ride had turned into a desperate escape. My mind was racing. How could anyone react like this? A honk and a middle finger had unleashed this kind of unhinged rage. What kind of person does this? Who decides that using their 2-ton truck as a weapon is the right response to a minor insult? Even more sickening was the realization that he wasn't alone. Police later reported that his girlfriend and his 4-year-old son were in the truck with him the whole time. The thought just makes me ill. To be so consumed by rage that you'd endanger not just me, but your own family, your own child, is something I will never understand. His anger had completely short-circuited his brain, leaving only a single, terrible mission. Make me pay. The chase hit its horrifying peak in the worst place imaginable, right in front of an entire Boy Scout troop. They were just there, on the side of the road, and they saw it all. They saw the Jeep pickup truck deliberately swerving toward my motorcycle. They saw what witnesses called a pit maneuver, a tactic police use, not something a civilian does on a public road. He hit me. The impact was brutal and out of nowhere. One second I'm on my bike. The next, the world becomes a violent washing machine cycle of asphalt, sky, and crushing pain. I remember hitting the ground, the shock of it shooting through my body like a lightning strike. The witnesses, including those young scouts, were left traumatized. They had just watched a man in a jeep try to kill a guy on a motorcycle for what looked like no reason at all. Some of them thought the driver just had a vendetta against bikers and used our little interaction as an excuse. The scene was pure chaos. Debris was everywhere. I was lying there on Petrovitsky Road, seriously injured, with my head and face taking the worst of it. My mind was a fog, trying to put together what had just happened. The peaceful ride I wanted, the one that was supposed to be a break from my cancer battle, ended with me broken on the pavement, surrounded by the horrified faces of children. The moments after the crash are a jumble of broken memories. The adrenaline was pumping, but the pain was worse. The driver of the Jeep was arrested right there at the scene. So, in that sense, justice was fast. He was facing charges for vehicular assault and reckless driving. They had to close the road down as police started investigating what they immediately labeled a road rage incident. I was rushed to Harborview Medical Center in Seattle in serious condition. Suddenly, my world was the size of a hospital room. Fighting cancer felt like a slow, grinding siege, but this was a sudden, violent ambush on top of it. My friend, Mandy Lapointe, talked to the news, trying to make sense of it all. They call it road rage, but Dustin, we don't think was involved, she said, pointing out how one-sided the whole thing was. The most powerful and heartbreaking moment happened right there in that hospital bed. Despite the injuries and the pain, I was alive, and my family was there. My daughter climbed into bed with me for some snuggles. Holding her in that moment, the fragility of life was just overwhelming. I went out for some air and was almost taken from her forever because of one man's uncontrollable anger. The road to recovery is going to be a long one. I'm facing a new battle on top of the one I was already fighting. But I'm not fighting it alone. The community response has been incredible. My friend Mandy organized a fundraiser and called for local bikers to show up at the driver's court hearing on Monday. Not for a fight, but for solidarity. To stand in support of a fellow rider who was senselessly attacked. This whole thing is a terrifying reminder of what happens when rage is in the driver's seat. It shows how vulnerable bikers are and how we're too often seen as targets instead of people. But the witnesses saw the truth. They saw that the driver's actions were deliberate and unprovoked. They saw a man who was a danger to everyone. My life was almost ended over a honk. That's the insane reality. The man who hit me, with his own kid in the car, made a choice. He chose violence. I'm sharing this story because people need to understand how fast things can escalate and how devastating road rage can be. We all share the road. We have a responsibility to act like neighbors, not enemies. Life is way too fragile for that. What would you have done? Have you ever seen or experienced road rage this bad? Share your stories in the comments, and if you believe in safer roads for all of us, please subscribe for more stories that raise awareness. Ride safe, drive safe, and look out for each other.